Good to go. All right. Welcome everybody to the Empowerment Project. My name's Emma Doyle and I have been with you every step of the way over the last, I don't know how many weeks. It feels like months actually. But I just really appreciate everybody who's joined. So as you know, this is interactive. So let's get started in the chat box. Let's go with where you're checking in from. So just type in the chat box. Obviously, I'm here in Denver and it's really, really hot. So that's where I'm checking in from. And feel free to type away where you are in the world. I know we've got New Jersey in the house. I think even we've got Toronto in the house. Yes, Melbourne, New Jersey. Oh, that's right, Minnesota. That's right. Thank you for not abbreviating it because I'm still getting used to my American little state acronyms. So, so hopefully Lauren's going to join us as well. She hasn't missed any of the modules. But yeah, just really appreciate everyone for being on, and also everybody watching on Facebook Live. It's been just an awesome journey, and we're finally at the end. And as I promised, anyone that came on live and didn't miss a session, you get a free session with me one-on-one next week. Justin, I cannot wait. Hung, I cannot wait. So next week, you're going to send me an email and you're going to book in. I'm going to, of course, put the ownership on you. You're going to email me and book in a time. But it has to be within 7 days as well, because I'm all about taking action. Okay, so so well done on committing and being here. So I'm going to share my screen as I do every week, as we know, and we're going to head over to the Empowerment Project. All right, so let's have a look. Where did we start? Oh, wow. So 9 weeks ago, we started with creating self-awareness. And remember, once again, just go to YouTube and just type in the Empowerment Project and my name and Centercourt, and you'll be able to find all of these sessions. So that's where we started. Then we went up to our patterns, our routines, our habits. We looked at our morning and our evening routines. Empowering language. If you don't mind, Candice, I had a quick chat with you, telling everybody just prior to this session, and you used the word not yet in your language. I loved that. We covered the use of the word yet in our empowering language. Thank you for that. Then we went across to values. We did our 6 values in our pyramid. We went up to the top of the genius model in boosting our self-esteem. The top of the genius model, the crown, is where, remember, confidence can only build layer by layer. Then we went over to here in reframing our story. So the little paragraph about who we are and what that actually means, asking lots of laser questions. Then finally, we went over here into direction. So how do we make decisions, heart, head, and gut, so we can find real purpose in our lives. Then we went to boosting courage. We spoke about a number of different things with regards to courage and where courage lives. And then finally, last week, we did our conflict resolution strategies for real communication, especially with regards to your team, and how to get a Hawkeye perspective on different people's opinions, which there will always be when it comes to your sport and your life. And really, it was about how can we become more self-aware, so that we learn about each other, different personalities. We spoke a lot about that. So you can walk away with winning strategies. Every single week we did winning strategies, which brings us to the sweet spot. So in the middle of the genius model, of course, is the Empowerment Project. To be able to walk away feeling empowered, boost your confidence, enhance your relationship, and find real purpose. Hopefully, all those different strategies is the reason why you are still with me after all this time. So, so thank you so much, and welcome to the outro module. As we do every single week, we have 4 sections. But before we do, I would love for Justin, especially Justin, and Hung to type in the chat box, and Candice, you could type in potentially what it is that one of those things that jumped out at you, one of those modules. I'll even go back. And but for Justin and Hung, can you type in which one was your favourite? I just want to know which one you loved, which of the modules you loved, for my own benefit of seeing which one really resonated with you. And Candice, maybe which one you might actually enjoy rewatching on YouTube. So I'm going to open my chat box so I can read everybody's answers with my multitasking, as well as doing the PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully you're typing away in the chat box if you haven't already. And I'm going to pull it up so I can read people's answers. Oh, you're still thinking about it. Everyone's still thinking. Which one of those? All right. Chat box is not showing on my computer. So if you have typed in, awesome work. I don't know why it's not showing up. This is the first week. It's not the chat box. This is technology and this happens. So I don't know what, so because your videos are on, maybe show me with numbers, which I can't read my chat box, which module. This was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5. Thank you. Justin, 5 was your favourite. Hung, which one did you enjoy the most? Is that 5 or 4? I can't see. 6. Module 6. Module 6. There you go. All right. Well,
by self-esteem.
Perfect. Got it. Well, thank you for that. And I will definitely be following up, of course, with a questionnaire as well. You know I will, about a lot more detail than just not what did you like. Of course, it's all about taking action. So, so thanks for sharing that. All right. Section 1, we started every single week with reviewing the game plan from last week. So we're reviewing communication. So this is what you had to do to get 15 points last week. You had to write down the conflict resolution steps. Did you do it? Thumbs up if you did it. Thumbs up. Justin, I'm looking at you, mate. Did you do it? He's like, no. All right, maybe he got 30 points. Journal the Hawkeye perspective. So what that means is, what was the perspective of the athlete? What's the perspective of the parent? And what's the perspective of the coach or a significant other person in your life? And then finally, voice your TFFI, We Can Fly, which stood for topic, facts, feeling, impact, what you want, how you contributed to the conflict, and then moving forwards. So that was we called it an airline, TFFI, We Can Fly. Fantastic conflict resolution strategy. They were the steps, and that was the game plan if you were to win the game last week. So that was real communication. All right, section 1 is your unforced areas. What are your potential motivations for even being a part of the empowerment projects? And, you know, there's 3 main ones. And the reason why even this empowerment project, why choose confidence, why choose relationships, and why choose purpose? Why? Because the number one thing, and I'm maybe showing my age here, but in 30 years of coaching, I know, I can't believe that. This is my 30th year. I did start coaching when I was 14, so that does give away my age. I know you might be shocked to hear that, Hung, but yes, 45 in very soon. However, I share that because the number one phone call that I get is, my child's lost confidence, and how I just, you know, can you help them get their confidence back? And literally, that's why it was designed that way, because as we know, confidence, it's a ball of energy, and so it's not something that that you can just grab back. It's layer by layer building of your self-esteem, as we spoke about in that module. So that's one of the biggest things. The second thing is that I hear all the time is that I can only relate to half my players, or half my teammates, or I want to fire this coach, or I'm not getting along with this person. So basically, this communication piece around relationships is the second biggest reason for the empowerment project. And then finally, the third reason is the ultimate fear especially from the parent that calls me and says, my child's lost the love of the sport, or you're training, and you've lost that direction, that real purpose, that real underlying motivation. So ultimately the fear is you're actually self-sabotaging your own success. And they are the 3 biggest problems that I see as relating to why the empowerment project, is there. as we do every week, I ask you to potentially reflect on your own unforced errors. Like, what is it that is not quite going well with regards to 3 of those core modules, or 9 of the areas that we really focused. And what do we do every week? Justin knows, he's used to this by now. We flip our unforced errors into winners, of course. And the promise really at the end of this, what's the biggest promise that I can 100% provide is that you have strategies. You literally have strategies. You think about, we've had 15, 30, 40 game for 9 modules. I don't know, Justin, you need to do the math and put it in the chat box, whatever that is. 3 multiplied by 9, mate. Come on, you're on it. And that is how many practical strategies that you have actually had the chance to add to your playing toolkit, Hung for your parenting toolkit, and Jing for your parenting toolkit as well. I know Lauren's got a lot out of the strategies for her lacrosse game. So that, they're definitely what you can add. And so the promise is that you are filled with confidence. You can adjust your communication so that you have better relationships, and you're clear with your purpose and your direction so that ultimately you can step into your own greatness and feel empowered with practical strategies, which of course we ask you to take action on every single week. So that's the little promise that is part of that makes up the Empowerment Project. Flip it as I just did. So whatever we're reflecting on, what are my unforced errors in this area? Every week we ask you to flip your unforced errors into winners, and practicing that is the technique of reframing. So going from, I'm really stuck or I'm unclear to, I live my life with purpose because I'm now connected to my motivation, as an example of flipping it. So that's what we did every single week as section 1. And then I always finished with a personal story to round off section 1. So the one story that I wanted to share today was when I was a young coach, and I got my first ever tennis club in a very small sort of suburb in Melbourne. And I was starting out, and I thought to myself, who's the most successful sort of coach in the area? And it was a guy called Martin Hall, and he was from what we call Hall's Taekwondo. It was a franchise of like these 4 sort of Taekwondo studios, and I'd also done Taekwondo to help my tennis when I was growing up. And so I asked him if I could, have an hour of his time, and he said, well, yeah, no problem, it'll be $300. And I was like, oh, wow, I don't have $300. And then I went, you know what? I'm going to find the 300. I found the 300, and fortunately he gave me 3 hours of his time. But basically what I learnt in that moment for me was once you have a practical strategy, you can, and you actually take action and implement it, then amazing things can happen for your business. And in that hour or 3 hours, he taught me the 6 human needs. And I'm going to be revealing the 6 human needs. They were total game changers for my business, for my life, for understanding people. And that is really, again, you'll see in the 6 human needs what will really bring the Empowerment Project together. So that was my personal story of a shift. And I love this picture as well, because you don't know what strategy is going to work for you. Like when I asked Justin, did he write down the conflict resolution strategies? He's like, no, that didn't work for me, and that's okay. But basically it's what's that one strategy that works for you that you can add to your toolkit. So remember, we've spoke about this whole time, the stretch cycle. So we stretch our comfort zone. We don't throw ourselves in the deep end, because only 10% of the population will be able to swim when you do that anyway. So just what can you do? Just one layer at a time, one stretch at a time. So that was my story that I wanted, that I wanted to share for today's webinar. And just for you just right now, just to consider where you started and just how far you've come with regards to all these strategies and so forth. So that's section 1. I'm still having a little bit of a technology issue in trying to see the chat box, but I love that your cameras are on today. So I would love to see see how well and how efficient you are in what is section 2. Who can tell me? I mean, type it in anyway. I'll check it later as soon as I stop sharing my PowerPoint. But how many strategies do we always share in section 2? The what. The what. How many strategies are there every single week for the last 9 weeks? Or I can see, Justin, you can even, if you wanted to use, yes, how many? I see a 4 and a 5 and a, well done, 5 strategies. That is what we're sharing every single week. Strategy number 1, to really be successful in this webinar. I know many of you, and we've spoke about this as we've gone throughout, would have heard of Carol Dweck and her work around having a growth mindset. Really, when you think about a growth mindset, is somebody who sees possibilities, choices, and options. You're choosing to play above the line, okay? And as we know, none of you here on this call have that fixed mindset, but where they see limitations, roadblocks, they run away from challenges. And remember, it's not about ability, it's about your approach to how you a challenge or how you problem solve. And that's a huge part of my coaching philosophy. But if you don't have a growth mindset, then this empowerment project is probably not for you. So remember, I can learn anything I want to. I embrace the challenge. Failure is an opportunity to learn. So remember, you don't come first, you just came second, even in a tennis match. If you succeed, I'm inspired. So being inspired, I always get my players that I work with, when they shake hands, or we don't shake hands anymore, just do the handle racket tap. But literally, thank you for making me a better player, because remember, the better your opponent plays, the better you'll play, rather than hoping that they double fault on that big point. Hey, come on, give me your best kick serve. I've got this. My effort and my attitude determine everything. So you really did need a growth mindset. And under strategy number 1, the second part of having a growth mindset is the 6 human needs. So at the end of this next slide, please get out your mobile phones, take a photo of this next slide, because it's a game changer. It changed my life, as I mentioned. What is it? Well, the background information is, you may have heard of Tony Robbins, one of the most famous, arguably one of the most famous motivational speakers in the world. So they do come from him. They're not Emma Doyle's 6 human needs, and not even Martin Hall from Hall's Taekwondo's 6 human needs. But and it's not about food and water and sleep, although those things are critical, as we know. But there are 6. But here's the key. The top 4, okay, are what everybody needs. So what are they? Number 1 is certainty. That is, people want to know, what time is the lesson? You know, who's going to be in my group? What's the expectation of the club? You know, from a parent, when do I need to pay? How long does the semester go for? Boom, 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 boom. With absolute certainty, they want to know what's happening. That's a human need. Here is the real kicker. Guess what number 2 is? Uncertainty, variety. Isn't that crazy? It's like we need this, and then if every single week was exactly the same, if you did cross-court forehands every single week, I mean, come on, you know, we're going to lose kids after 3 weeks of that, or maybe even less in today's world, because of the way the world is designed. So I love this, and please, even Hong and Jing, you know, it is. I love this thing about even parenting, doing something really, even variety, that spice of life, not because it's someone's birthday, you know, not the flowers on the birthday just because it's someone's birthday, right? Think outside the square and add variety and uncertainty into your relationships. Number 3. Always, this one has been a game changer in my life of business, and of course in terms of if you're in a team, and its significance. Okay, it is the number 1 reason for conflict in the workplace and on the sporting field, because if people don't have words of affirmation, we spoke about, remember the tennis taste formula last week on the love languages. If people don't feel they're appreciated, they don't feel significant, they don't feel that someone's acknowledged like a small part of what they've done, then they'll very, very easily turn away and check out and not be motivated to the higher purpose or the bigger goal. So the number 3 is huge. Number 4 has never been more important than now. I'm sure we can all agree that it's not just love of each other, but it's about connection and connecting with people and finding different ways to connect, especially in this COVID world we all find ourselves in. So even just this webinar is a way of every Tuesday night we've connected every single week. And I really, really appreciate that. See how that's significance. I'm sharing my significance and my gratitude for you just being on this webinar right here, right now. So they're the top 4 of the 6. Now, that's what everybody needs. And I can't remember which module it was now, but we spoke about that 90% of the population would rather die than change. Okay, which is crazy statistic, but the thing about it is, not everybody craves. Remember this growth, this empowerment. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. If people want to stay in their bubble, that's fine. That's not the land that we all play in, because number 5 is oops. Oh no. Okay. This I'm going to fix straight away because you have to photograph this this slide. Look at my editing skills because I'm just so devastated. Stay with me, all of you. I'm editing my PowerPoint. Do not go anywhere. All right, now I'm going to share my screen. Look at this. Was that under record time? I think it might have been. And we're going to play from the current slide. And we're back. That was under 15 seconds. Technology editing. That's the photo that you want to take a screenshot of. I'll sort of move our images actually out of the way, so hopefully you can get all of those 6 things. All right, so let's talk about number 5. Number 5 is growth. So that is the empowerment project. It's about practicals. It's about growing, it's about learning, it's about tools in your toolkit, it's about strategies, it's about tactics, it's about applying, executing a game plan. That is where real growth happens. And again, not everybody necessarily craves that, but remember module 1, self-awareness, the only certainty in life is change. The world is changing. So that we guarantee. That's number 5. And then this one here is really interesting, and that's contribution. That's actually giving back. And perhaps you might not do that, necessarily. Well, there'll be different ways of doing it when you're a teenager or you're a young athlete. But essentially, I think it does happen a little bit more towards the maybe later in your life, but essentially it can happen anytime, of course. And that's like, for example, the virtual tennis symposium I ran 3 weeks ago, we raised over $3,000 for 3 different charities. So that was my way of giving back. Again, it's important, and the more we do it, the same with our gratitudes. We spoke about how important the gratitude statements are. That was module 1 as well. And by doing that, even in just being grateful, it's amazing what you invite back into your life. So 6 human needs, double thumbs up if your camera's on. I can see. Did you like those? Yeah. Thanks, Candace. Thanks, Jean. Love it, everybody. All right, so that's only strategy 1. So, of course, as everyone knows, we still have 4 more to go to review this, this topic. All right, so strategy number 2 is, by the end of this empowerment project, we really wanted you to have a think about your state. So we spoke about the word state quite often. And what I mean by state is the particular condition that you're in at a specific time. So as we know, we've got a couple of tennis players on. Right before you serve, if you're still thinking about the game that you lost when you were 40 love up, or if you're still thinking about what you're going to have for dinner that night, you're not really in state to be able to play that point. And the Empowerment Project is all about having an inspired state. And you can only understand your state if you have great self-awareness. Or in the words of Billie Jean King, I think self-awareness is probably the most important thing towards being a champion. And of course, we're talking about a champion in life, which she certainly is. I haven't met her yet, but I will one day. So that is our strategy number 2. And, again, curious, like him or not, is irrelevant. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. He didn't say that. No, Aristotle did. But I think self-awareness is critical. Critical as a coach, critical as a parent, and players, young players, I know you're still getting to know yourself, but self-awareness is the key to having an inspired state. And remember, back in module 1, we covered breathing, just the technique of breathing 6 seconds in, hold 6 seconds out. We know we can lower our heart rate, which is really important before a big point. Just that even that longer exhale actually lowers the heart rate. So great little steps there from module 1. All right, maybe because I'm stopped, I redid my screen share. Maybe I can read the chat box now. I'll give the chat box one more go because I love the chat box. We always use the chat box. Mastery of C.P.R. So can anyone type in the chat box, what do you think those 3 letters stand for? I've said them at least 10 times already. Something to do with the Genius model in this webinar. Oh, yes, I've got the chat box. I've found it. It's back and it's open. I can see. So what does, in the Genius model, the 3 circles, what did the C stand for? First person in the chat box, C stood for, or Hung, I can see he's on it, he's typing. The word C, the first C stood for, I'm waiting. Oh, communication. That was module 9. I love that you had a go, Hung. I love it. It stood for confidence. Top of the Genius model. All right. Remember, confidence building up layer by layer by layer. All right. Anyone want to have a go? CPRs, because oh yes. Well done, team. Well done, Jing and Justin. Relationships and purpose. So again, it's not cardiopulmonary resuscitation 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's actually confidence, relationships, and purpose. They were the 3 core components that made up all of the modules. And by the end of the empowerment project, the idea being, mastery is a word that I like to use it, because do we ever really master anything? No. Mastery means we're always still mastering. Certainly, is my confidence always riding high? Absolutely not. That's just a lie. And if anyone tells you otherwise, it's fake. But having mastery means we're constantly on a learning journey of these 3 things that I think is what will help us feel empowered, and that'll give us our little sweet spot in the middle there, which of course is empowerment. All right, and I loved this quote again in the chat box. What do you think this quote? Which of the modules does this quote relate to? So over time, as the daily routines become second nature, discipline morphs into habit. So which of the modules do you think that quote related to? Yes, module 2, patterns of being. Remember, the patterns are the steps that make up the routine. And then if we do the routine, as we spoke about, for 21 days, then it forms a habit. So hopefully Conrad is still doing his cycling 5 mornings a week. I'll have to ask him. He's normally the co-host with me on this webinar. So we'll check in with him to check that he's doing that. But all right, so moving on to our next strategy. And that is this concept that we all have an inner coach. Okay, and by the end of this empowerment project, strategy 4 is that you have unlocked your own inner coach. The goal is to be the observer of your thoughts and not let your thoughts control you. So Deepak Chopra, if you haven't heard of him, I got onto him very early in my life. He's potentially one of the most famous authors, well known in the alternative medicine space. And one of his books that I really I loved, I read it when I was really young, was the 7 Laws of Spiritual Success. So a great book that I highly recommend from Deepak. And being able to remember under the empowering language and the reframing your story, under those 2 modules, this is where your inner coach hopefully became unlocked. In that, the word choices, the way you talk to yourself, future-based language, who I am is the possibility of, everything that was relating to rewriting your story, flipping your story, can do being your middle name, was about unlocking your inner coach. Because we know that in a match, the way you talk to yourself okay, becomes the strength of your inner voice. All right. There's so much powerful research out there around that. And so that really makes up, strategy 4. And finally, as we did every single week, we did celebrate your time, again, that you'll never, ever get back, okay? But the reason why this is actually one of the strategies is that I really do passionately believe when you invest time, then it's actually not worth it if you don't take action. So if you're going to, if something resonated, obviously if you invest time in something and you didn't get anything out of it, then that's a different investment. But if you can find one thing that you can get out of a module or one thing you can add into your toolkit, then really celebrating that. So I'm going to put you all on the spot now. I've got my little chat box open. So write down, I want you to think about, even based on the empowerment, what's something that you could do for yourself, even I know just investing 1 hour tonight, in the next 24 hours, what do so basically, what are you going to do for you? Not for your kids, for you. What are you going to do for you? Justin, what are you going to do for you? Candice, what are you going to do for you? Hung, what are you going to do for you? Just something, it might be small, might be 3 gratitudes, it might be taking 5 minutes to yourself. Maybe it's just rechanging a part of your furniture, shift something, just something to really say, okay, maybe it's you're going to share the 6 human needs with a friend. Could be anything like that. But type in the chat box. I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but if anyone wanted to jump in there, we know that if Conrad was on this call, he'd be jumping in. Yeah, nice. Take that time. I love it, to be still. We spoke a lot about that, just not so much in meditation, but in stopping and being still and taking time to smell the roses. Love that. So with the celebrate, so there's always 3 things. Yeah, nice. Provide appreciation. Thank you. Really, that's awesome. Remember the 3 things: 24 hours for you, 7 days for one of your athletes, if you're a coach, if you're a parent for one of your kids, and if you're a player, then for one of your teammates, or it could be for your coach. And then finally, what are you going to do in the next 30 days for someone in the culture of your team? So maybe that's just even letting them know about these webinars, or it could be something really, really small. But that's how, when I'm celebrating, we always look at those 3 things. What am I going to do for me? What am I going to do for someone for me as a coach? It would be one of my athletes, and then in the next 30 days for someone in my team, a coach of a coach. So love it. The podcast, great way to unwind and drawing. That's awesome. Great, awesome answers. Thanks everyone for sharing that, and really celebrating your wins, because that's what we did every single week. And that is really, that's really, really important. All right. So what we normally do with Conrad is we pause here just in case I've gone over anything too quickly. And before I get into section 3, which is the tactics. And if anyone wants to unmute and feeling really brave and wanted to ask any question about the, normally Conrad would jump in the space and be firing off a million questions. So because he's not here, I just wanted to stop and give anyone an opportunity. And I'll give you even 5 seconds. If no one unmutes, then I know there's no questions. Don't feel like you have to, but I just thought sometimes it's nice to stop and pause. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, I'll keep going. Thumbs up. We can hold all those million questions for the end. All right, so section 3 is the tactics. So that's what we do every single week. And does anyone in those regulars, how many tactics do I give you every single week? We have 5 strategies, so therefore we have how many? Yeah, three tactics. All right, tactic number 1 for today is what I call the traffic lights. And that simply means, and of course you can tell already, this is going to be part of your game plan, okay? So really what we're looking at here is a red light is you're struggling, okay? A yellow light is you're getting there, and a green light is you are right on track. So with the traffic lights, I'd love you to have a think about the Genius model and give yourself a light for where you started. So under self-awareness, so in your journal, of course, I'm going to ask you to draw the Genius model. So Justin, you may need to take a photo of that because I'll be checking on that next week. But, you know, maybe when you started, you had a yellow light self-awareness, and then with the practical tools and strategies, where did you shift from? Or if you're still a yellow light and you feel like you didn't quite get it, or you still feel a bit stuck, then give yourself a yellow light or a red light. So it's remember, always non-judgmental snapshot of just where you're at today, and then just reflecting back to when you started. So that's strategy number one. And I think also you can do this with any aspect of your game. Even I do a little string tension thing where you draw your tennis racket and you put all like this, but you might have your technical, tactical, physical mindset, and give yourself, again, red light, yellow light, green light, and great little way to check your string tension of your game. So that is tactic number one. And then again, just have a think about how far you've come. Okay, so think about really where'd you start and where are you now, that 9 weeks ago you really didn't have any idea about TFFI, We Can Fly, or you had no idea about the superpowers. Who I am is the possibility of. So really have a think about how far you've come in those last nine weeks. All right, tactic number 2, okay, is journaling. Now, by this point in the process, I'm sure you journal already. The power of actually handwriting in your little, here's mine right here, got my journal, right? And I'm in it every single day. It is filled with just random sort of, right, bits and pieces. Reflecting, journaling, so much research around the benefits of just writing up your matches. Remember, always 2 positives, 2 A4D, areas for development, and then what are your life lessons. So journaling is so critical to, if you want to really walk away feeling empowered. Draw the model, the Genius model, and draw your own. I know, Justin, you said you like to draw. I do circles, I do squares, I do triangles. The virtual tennis symposium, we had the player in the middle, we had the parent at the top, the most significant person, with the coach down here, and then over the other side we had strategies, practical strategies. Draw your models in your journaling. That's another great way to think about the 3 areas that you specifically what you need to work on. Model them, draw them. I love modeling. It's fun, and it's a way of really capturing your thoughts. When I put this program together, it was really about what are the 3. I didn't want to go to the research first. I wanted to first go to my own experience and say, what are the biggest challenges that I have seen over the time? So that's tactic 2. And then finally, tactic 3 is actually tell, teach, or share the empowerment project with somebody else. In that, if you've enjoyed it, and if you've, hopefully you have, because you've hardly missed, some of you have hardly missed one. But the reason even that this is a tactic is because if you want to understand something better, teach it to someone else. Imagine just taking one strategy and teach that to someone else. Sure, give credit where credit's due. I've acknowledged the 6 human needs are not mine, but I cannot tell you how many people I've told them to. I don't claim them as my own, but I can teach them. Right now. I could reel them off, no problem, without needing that slide up. So that's something. Maybe there's one thing within this project that you could share with somebody else that really resonated with you. Maybe it was the Justin Ipov strategy, which is the giant bubble around the body, and it's just an interesting point of view when somebody tries to give you a million different pieces of advice that they know nothing about, and they're projecting their own stuff onto you. So that is tactic number 3. And within that tactic, here's another opportunity in the chat box. every single week, and this is if you want to also do a presentation or if you've got a school project and you have to do a talk, then follow this webinar principles. I mean, my sisters are from Australia, you know, she's a teacher, and obviously all these teachers are having to now do a lot of online education. These 4 steps, and again, I didn't create them, but I've invested time in learning how to know these 4 steps, the format, and do a presentation this way. So in the chat box, like what did we do every single week? What was section number 1? Every single week we started with the what? What was it? Was section 1 was the what? Oh, I nearly gave you the answer. Chat box, yeah, the UEs, the unforced errors, which was linked to the why. So if you've got a presentation that you want to do, you are always thinking about what? Well, why? What are the biggest problems? What's the motivation? The why is what are the biggest problems people have in that area? That is what you want to start with. And then section 2, we went from the why, and then we gave you 5. What was next? Anyone? Ferris Bueller? Anyone? Are you a bit too young for that movie, I think? Right, the what, okay? The 5 strategies, the why, the motivation, then the what. So coming up, well, what are the 5 concepts, and what are the research, what are the stories, what are the principles? The principles, oh, I love it. Live in tennis, thank you. We have got already the next answer in the chat box is the how. Well, how do you implement the what? Okay, that was the tactics, the 3 tactics every week. And then finally, the now. Okay, the why, the what, the how, the now. The why, the what, the how, the now. It's called the format strategy. Great way to run a webinar, great way to teach somebody something, great way to, if you've got an assignment that needs fleshing out, Justin, this is an awesome way to sort of bring your work together. And then, you know, really at the end of the day, what's the impact? If people take action, let me reframe that. When people take action, if you believe in your content, which I certainly do, adds value to people's lives, then what's going to be the impact? And certainly that the proof is in the pudding, as they say. All right. So of course we all know where we're up to. Section 4, the game plan. What is the game plan? You can probably already imagine what the game plan is for this week. If you want to win the game this week, you have to draw the genius model. So the 3 circles and the 9 modules. You have to complete the traffic lights. So give yourself a red, yellow, or green around the outside of the modules. And then finally, just share your experience. Maybe it's with a sibling. Maybe it's with a friend. Maybe it's with another tennis player. Maybe it's with your next door neighbor. And again, you don't have to. If remember, don't ever do something if it's not resonating. If you don't have a deep why, then please don't share the empowerment project. But if you've got some benefit out of it, then yeah, remember they're all up on YouTube, and you know, it is really 10 hours. 10 hours. Oh my goodness, 10 hours. That's a lot of time. But don't worry, Candice, you can just forward to the 5 strategies. I know what you're thinking. All right, so that is how you win the game. And then finally, what we celebrate, we doubly celebrate. This slide's even more pretty. So just for investing your time, remember, it's 1 hour of our life we're never, ever going to get back. And what's next, in case you're all on the edge of your seats, just thinking, how can I live without the Empowerment Project every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have, as you can imagine, I've got another 2 genius models ready to go. So it'll be up to Centercourt. But we have one called the Performance Code that we're looking forward to launching at some point, and another one called Presentation Blueprint, so how to find your authentic speaking voice. So it'll just be a matter of which way they want to go. So I'm not sure yet, but watch this space. We'll definitely let you know what's next. But something will be coming up. As I do every week, I try to hit my ball into my screen. Let's see if I get it this week. Oh, missed it. Hang on, let's go again. Oh, that was pretty close. All right. So second effort, remember? It's not about the result. It's about the effort, because the ball is always in your court if you want to take action. Speaking of taking action, Justin, that's my email down the bottom there. You have to email me within the next 24 hours to book in your time for next week. Okay, you have not missed a session. So we'll jump on at least 30-minute call, and we will go through the GROW model. Remember, what's your goal? What's your reality? What are your options? What are your way forward on anything you want to talk about? Same with you, Hong, and I believe Lauren hasn't missed one as well. So that is what you have to do if you want to book it in. If you don't email me within the next 24 hours, then unfortunately you haven't taken action. But that won't be you. I know that. So we don't need to worry about that. All right. So now we've got approximately, look at that, because Conrad wasn't on the call, we have 12 minutes of open Q&A, and we will, at which point I will stop sharing my screen. And yeah, please feel free. Now would be a great time. You can ask me any question about any of the modules. But before we do that, actually before Q&A, let's have a think about in the chat box, what are you going to take action on? So is there anything that resonated within this, just tonight's webinar? Is there something that you're going to do? If you just want to put in 15 points, you're just going to go for 15 this week. It wouldn't be right if I didn't ask you what you're going to actually take action on. So I'd love in the chat box there, if you can just type in what you're going to take action on. Could be anything, could be the 24 hours for you. It could be, I know what I'm going to do. In the next 7 days, have a conference call with Centercourt to decide what's next. That is what I am going to do. The genius, yes, definitely, I can do that. Not a problem. Draw the red light, yeah, fantastic. All right, I'm going to just share my screen one more time. All right, sharing. I'm going to put the genius model up, and from current slideshow. There we go. Got it? Yeah, perfect. Take a photo of that if you haven't already, and that, beautiful. I'll stop sharing again. Excellent. All right. So, yeah, well, actually, if you don't mind, rather than me just asking for open questions, you're welcome. Why don't do you mind, Justin, if you could unmute yourself? I would love to hear from you. And I would love, if you don't mind sharing. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the Facebook Live, actually. Let me just stop that live stream. All right, I've stopped the live stream on Facebook. So I would love to hear from you. Just again, what do you think of all the modules and all the strategies? It can be anything, but what specifically are two things that you really found useful?
I guess for me would be the self-esteem and courage modules. My issue, I guess, I had was with public speaking and kind of being motivated to do public speaking and kind of take the initiative and really try it out. So one of the things that helped me was like the stretch and comfort zone sort of thing, like the onion sort of, being like what I have right now, and like sort of like opportunities. With public speaking. And I think that's really important to me right now because, you know, like as a teenager, there's lots of opportunities that are opening up for me, lots of things that I can do. So it's probably my responsibility to like see what I can accomplish. Yeah, especially in today's world. So there's never been a better time than the present to find that authentic voice. And especially this type of format is going to be a part of our future. So stretching your comfort zone, remember, one layer at a time with your 3 core inner superpowers in the middle of the onion,
and then just find that one topic, that one thing that you can stretch in. I love that. Thank you. Thanks. Tell me also about what's one way the Empowerment Project could improve. Like if we do like the performance code, for example, is there anything that you wanted more of or less of, or did you want it to be more interactive, or is there anything that that we can do better?
I guess I would have to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you that question again when we have a little one-on-one, if that's, yeah, cool. All right.
Yep.
Anything else you want to add
Um,
or ask any questions?
I guess one more thing that I found interesting was like the Justin IPOP thing. I also share the name with the strategy, so kind of particularly appealed to me. Just an interesting perspective. I thought like it was a great way of kind of distancing yourself from like any emotion sort of thing, and sort of like calming down and more like objectively assessing it on its own merits, instead of like that you're kind of like a gut reaction saying, oh, this is bad, or oh, this is good, sort of thing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think so quickly we judge, and sometimes people have really good intentions when they give you feedback, even though, remember, you didn't even ask for the feedback. So it's being able to take the emotion out of it and saying it's an interesting perspective, and then whether you want to take that on board or not, and then it's your choice. So yeah, thanks. I'm glad that one comes up a lot. I've done a number of school presentations, and that is like the favorite strategy. It's called the Russian spy, the Justin IPOP Russian spy. That's what we call that one. Love it. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Jing, do you want to make any special parent comments?
Parent comment. Oh, overall, I'm glad that I, found this project, because I thought it was great building confidence, and I really want Justin to listen to it. So that's why I end up listening with him. I was like, okay, if we listen together, then we listen. So I found there's a lot of good things. For me, I think the courage module was very helpful, because obviously, there are things that I want to work on as well as a parent, not just parenting, but about myself. So for me, I think that was one of the things that says like action is better than perfection.
Yeah, action is greater than perfection.
Greater than perfection. So you don't have to strive for perfection before you take an action. I think that was one of my big problems. In the past. Well, could be still. I'm still learning. Like one of the things I want to do is I wanted to be involved in the communities, and there are few times I was selected to involve in some advisory group for the district education team, and they always hold these meetings, to hear people's feedback. And I found a lot of time I think a lot before I speak in the meeting, and just try to figure out, is it the right thing to say, or is this a good advice? Or so before I, decide, by the time I decide to speak, and it's already a lot of other people already spoke. So I think so when I hear this advice, I just think, maybe next time I should just speak my mind. It doesn't have to be the right one, but at least I spoke. Yeah. And the practice makes it better. Yeah. Next time I could think and speak at the same time. Yeah. So that was, this module stood out for me. I just feel like it really, it put me on the edge of my seat. Like it made me feel like I want to do something. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. I'm loving this. And remember the 70% principle. That was one of the tactics within that module. And that's what I keep telling Justin too, because he's into profession. I think maybe part of my genes. It takes time, but a lot of things you don't have to be perfect. This is something I realized late in my life, like at work. Towards the end, no, you don't have to be perfect to submit a project. Time is really more important than perfection, especially when it comes at work. Deadline is more important if you get into thing. So beautiful. Well, thanks for sharing, team. Appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Hong, do you want to unmute yourself and share anything about the empowerment
No, okay, cool. No worries. No worries. Candice, is there anything that you want to ask, or did something resonate or anything come up for you for taking an hour of your life that you'll never get back?
Honestly, I thought it was really interesting. Like I said, this is the very first one, obviously not the best one because it's the last one. You know, I wish I would have been here for the entire experience, but I still learned a lot. I love that you went back and went over everything so I can kind of have a baseline. So when I do go on YouTube and check out the other videos, I think just that genius model is something I've never seen before. So I'm definitely going to utilize it, you know, because as much as I've been playing for a little while now, it's still a tool that I can use to kind of judge where I'm at, you know, starting now, you know, a year from now, maybe it'll be a little bit different, right, if I go back to it. So I thought that was really, really cool. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
No worries at all. Appreciate your time. And I think Live in Tennis, I think, is checking in from India. Oh my goodness, this webinar has been to all parts of the globe. Don't know, you can't see your camera, but if you're there, feel free to unmute yourself and ask anything. Otherwise, if everyone could just type in their gratitudes in the chat box, I think that would be the best way to finish the empowerment project. So I'm just going to start typing in my gratitudes. Yeah, I can't believe it.
So how is the tennis in the US? Has it started, or, you know, like, how is the global scenario like? I know the US Open is kind of, they're planning something there.
Yeah, hi. So sorry, what's your name?
Hey, my name is Rajan.
Rajan, yes, you're in the virtual tennis symposium?
Correct.
Oh,
yes.
Great. Well, this webinar has about a minute and a half left. So speaking about the global situation in tennis, you know me, I like to have a chat. I don't know if I can cover everything in a minute and a half, but obviously the US Open will be interesting to see how it all plays out with regards to who's even going to turn up. I know Ash Barty's not going to be there. But and even interesting from a quarantine perspective, because with the French Open being on within 2 weeks after the US Open, some players can't play both. So that'll be really interesting. But I think here in the States, every state is different with regards to what's allowed and what's not. But hope that gave you a little bit of an insight as we round off this webinar. But thanks for being on, and please check out the other modules as well. I appreciated you asking great questions at the virtual tennis symposium, so thank you so much for that. Any other gratitudes coming in as we round off this last webinar? Great. Who is your coach, Candice?
Her name's Michelle May. She's just a local coach here where I live.
Oh, cool. Well, tell her thanks. Tell her thank you for.
I will for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. And showing us the tools for empowerment. You're welcome. So I look forward to Hung and Justin receiving your email within the next 24 hours and catching up with you next week at a time that's convenient to both of us. But everybody else, that's me signing off from Denver, Colorado, within my global triangle of Melbourne, Colorado, and Scotland. And really appreciate, again, everyone and being a part of the Empowerment Project. Watch this space for what's next. Could be the performance code, I think. So,
okay.
2 thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Hey, thanks,
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.